All right, and welcome back to the channel. I appreciate you guys for being here. We're gonna go straight into it. Today is April 16th. I took 2 losses and 1 win. 2 of those losses were on the same model, and then one of those losses came from a different model later in the day. And today, it honestly wasn't bad. Like I feel like my draw on liquidity has increased immensely. Like I'm able to find the draw on liquidity. It's just my execution to frame a trade off of has just been lacking. We'll go straight into it. So first off, there was the first trade. It was right around open. So as you can see here, right around open, we're rebalancing into a 15-minute fair value gap. We have a 15-minute breaker block as well. Fair value gap breaker. That's your unicorn setup. I know it's not the cleanest. It's on the 15-minute. This is a breaker block right here. We have a high, low, higher high. That's your breaker. Within here, we're still holding it, and then we're coming back in this 15-minute fair value gap. So I was pretty bullish around open. We also have equal highs above us. I'm gonna actually pull up ES. We have equal highs above us. We have I'll kind of show it up. I guess I'll spoil the action, but we have these equal highs above us, and also we have this 15-minute fair value gap that's above us, and we also have equilibrium of this price leg above us. We know why does the market move? To hunt liquidity, to rebalance the inefficiencies, and to rebalance to equilibrium. So within this trade framework, I am targeting all 3 of those. I'm targeting us to rebalance to equilibrium, rebalance to that inefficiency on the 15-minute, and also to hunt those equal highs. But I'm taking those equal highs as a low-hanging fruit. Hey, I appreciate the sub, bro. I appreciate the sub. So basically, the framework for the trade is decent. I'm targeting all 3 of these things of which the market moves. So I don't mind this trade. Like this is a fantastic trade. We also have this original consolidation, and we have left equal highs. These equal highs will act as a magnet later, as we see. Trade ends up panning out. We have this original consolidation here. We come up. We almost take this original consolidation, but we don't quite. So what are we doing here? We're generating more liquidity right here and right here. Like we know that there's so much liquidity above us. We also have reasons for price to go higher. So my framework around the trade, good. But my first entry is what I take. I take this off the SMT, and price was just not ready yet. I take it off the SMT, and I take an entry all the way up here. There's no market structure shift. There's no pullback to a fair value gap or anything. And look at my risk here. I am risking so much on this trade, and that is where I went wrong. I am again in the mindset of missing out on the trade setup. I'm scared of missing out on the trade setup, and that is why I lost this first entry. There's not really any framework behind this trade. Well, I mean, there's framework behind this trade, but like we're not ready to go yet. The reason why I didn't want to miss out on this trade is because we had an SMT at the lows, and we had all these things stacking up to where like I didn't want price to run without me, so therefore I'm going to take a trade like this. This is absolutely awful. This has been something that I've struggled with for the past 2 weeks, so I cannot let this happen again. I cannot let this slide again. I cannot let this happen again. All of my losses within the past 2 weeks have been me off of having the right draw on liquidity, but my execution being absolutely poor. Look at my stop loss here. Look at my stop loss. If I'm going to take a trade without like a fair value gap entry, without an order block entry, like my risk has to be fantastic. Like my risk has to be like 8 to 1. My risk has to be like 9 to 1. Here, my risk is about 1.8 to 1. This is terrible. This is awful. This is such a bad trade, such a bad entry. The model's there, everything's there, but we're just not ready yet. There's no displacement. Why am I even entering here? Why am I like, do I need a wake-up call? Do I need to lose all my money in order for me to not keep on doing the same mistakes? Do I need to get beat down? Do I need to like go like 3 years with making the same mistakes, or can I learn from this? And that's why I'm here, and that's why I do these, is because I gotta learn. I gotta grow. Like it's not okay. It's not acceptable to make the same mistakes over and over again. It's not at all. Like that should never be an outcome. Like you can have a trader. There can be a trader that has traded for 2 months, but if they're able to learn from their mistakes, if they're able to get on with their business, if they're able to actually learn the lessons from the mistakes that they made, they will be much better off than the person that has been trading for 2 months, keeps on repeating the same mistakes, and keeps on diving back into their mistakes. And that's why I like doing these, because it forces me to get out of my shell. It forces me to put my mistakes out there. Put my mistakes out there. Put everything I do wrong. Slander me. Tell me what I'm doing wrong. I encourage it. Tell me what I should be doing better. Tell me where I'm going wrong. And I will be the first to admit all the mistakes that I make. That's why I encourage it. I encourage it in my Discord. Or I don't really do it in my Discord, but I will say more on Instagram. Every single day, I'm like, here's the mistakes that I made. I write them down, plain and simple. Because I know that I'm going to make mistakes. I'm always going to make mistakes in life, in business, in trading, most importantly. I'm always going to make mistakes. There's always going to be things for me to improve on, things for me to learn. I'm a constant student within this game. So therefore, I'm always going to make mistakes. I don't know everything. I know a fraction of the market. I have a fraction of the experience. So therefore, I'm gonna make mistakes, and it's all about holding myself accountable. But if I'm just making the same mistakes over and over again, where am I really gonna change? What is it gonna take for me to change? So repeating mistakes again. I'm out about this. Thinking that the setup will run without me. There's no such thing as a setup running without me. There's no reason for me to get in that mindset to where I have to enter here. There's nothing. There's not even a confluence that I entered off of. Nothing. I got impatient. The model's there. Wait for it to come to you. Wait for it to come to you. Wait for that trade to come to you. Wait for that success to come to you. Wait for whatever it may be to come to you. Like, this is trading, and this is also life advice. Wait for it to come to you. You really want it? Wait for it to come to you. You haven't deserved it yet. I was on the treadmill today, and I was thinking about, like, I really wanted to end my run. I really wanted to. I didn't want to go further. But I'm like, I don't deserve it. I don't deserve for this run to be over right now. I deserve it to be over when I've worked for it, and when the thing has come to me. I don't deserve it right now. I don't deserve to be in this trade right now. I don't deserve to be a profitable trader right now. No, I haven't worked hard enough for it. I haven't worked hard enough to. I don't deserve to be funded right now. I simply don't. Right now, if I keep on making the same mistakes, but if I'm able to adapt, if I'm able to overcome from this, yeah, I sure do deserve it. So there's no real entry criteria on this first trade. Like, nothing, not a single thing, and that is where I was just like, I don't really know. I'm a little cautious, and I knew I messed up. I knew that this probably wasn't the best entry when I entered, and I knew that as soon as I placed a trade, you guys know whenever you place a trade that you probably shouldn't have taken a trade. That happens to me a lot. I take a trade, and I wouldn't say a lot. It happened to me today twice because it took 2 losses. And I'm like, hey, maybe I shouldn't really be in this trade. I shouldn't really even be in this trade. Whenever I'm going to make a rule going forward, anytime, or I feel like I've had this rule, but anytime I feel like I shouldn't even be in the trade, I'm just going to exit because I know I probably shouldn't be in the trade. I don't care. I could be down like 20, like I could be up in the trade. But if I don't feel like I should be in the trade, I should not be in the trade. Period. Because it's going to lead to further losses. It's just going to lead to further drawdown. It's just going to lead to more mistakes in the future. Like, I'd rather have like a much smaller loss than me take a loss on a trade that I shouldn't really take. Well, I still would take a loss, but I would rather have a small loss than have it hit my stop loss. And even if it does end up running, then I don't know. I don't know if I like that. I feel like I should only enter when it's right, and if I don't enter, then or if I enter, then that means I just don't have enough discipline. So even if the trade runs without me, what do I lose? What do I lose if it hits? What do I lose if that trade ends hitting take profit? What do I lose? All I gain is more experience seeing it happen, and I feel like that's what I need to shift my mindset entirely behind. What do I lose if the trade runs without me? What do I lose? I lose nothing. I only gain conviction. I only gain seeing it happen. Okay, say I wanted to enter there. Say I wanted to enter there. Price just ends up immediately running to TP. Price does not do that. Price hardly does not do that. And we never truly displaced, so that's why this was not a good entry at all. So this is then where that second entry becomes so much better. So now traders are getting stopped. Now is a more appropriate time. We come down into this 5-minute BPR. We come down into this 5-minute order block here. And we also are holding that 15-minute fair value gap as well. We have ST at lows. And look at the wicks here. Look at the wicks. The wicks are doing all the damage. The bodies are telling the story, which is why this was such a good trade. The second entry was so much better. And here is where, here's what I'm saying. This is then when I can enter. Here, up here, no. I mean, it's not clear. We don't truly displace. We never create a fair value gap. Yes, there kind of is a change in state delivery there, but it's just not ready. Now we create a fair value gap. Now we have that change in state delivery. Now this is then I can enter without a fair value gap right here, put my stop at the low, and target all the way up there. This is then where I can enter, right here. Here, no. There's no displacement. There's nothing else. Here, once I see this, I hesitated. I knew that I probably could have entered in without a fair value gap. I knew that this probably could have been a good entry, but my conviction was destroyed since I already took that loss. So now my conviction just isn't there. So we have the CSID, we have the change of state of delivery, fair value gaps formed. This is then when you can enter. So since I already got stopped, I hesitated and my confidence just wasn't there. I was like, I took a loss. I'm not going to repeat a mistake again. That was probably good. Good to be cautious. And that's what I'm saying. Like, I took a loss right here. So therefore, when the opportunity was actually there, I'm less likely to execute here because I took the loss here. So then I second guess it altogether. Once I see this, I can enter again. But I don't think I should really practice that at all. Because like, hey, I took the loss here. I shouldn't even try to cover that up with taking an entry here because say I take the loss here, I need to learn my mistake from this lesson. I need to learn from this. I can't just cover this by taking an entry here, even though it probably was the right entry, even though it probably could have worked out. I feel like, hey, I was undisciplined and I took a bad trade, so therefore I actually have to suffer the consequences. So here is then when I take this second entry. This second entry was absolutely fabulous. This is what I'm saying. Like, even here, price does run higher. There's always going to be a retracement. There's no such thing as missing out on the trade. There's always going to be, or not always, there's usually going to be something like this. Even if price does run, what do you lose? So we come back down. We retrace into equilibrium. We're tracing this order block. I enter off this order block, off this wick, and it's ended up being a clean trade, almost zero drawdown. Zero drawdown on this trade. This was the great entry. This was the right entry. And what I don't love about this trade is the fact that I took one win and one loss on the same model, and I was pretty much barely break even. On this, which I don't like at all. Like, ideally, I want my winners to be far bigger, far greater than my losses, and therefore that's where I just wish I could have done a little bit better today. So, mistakes I made. Repeatedly think I'm going to miss out on a setup. There's no such thing. I really want to drill that into my brain. There's no such thing about missing out on the setup. Even if I miss out on the setup, what do I even lose from that? Took an unnecessary loss, and then that made me hesitate. So that unnecessary loss in the beginning made me hesitate in the future. So not mapping out my risk before entering the trade also is what I think is going to help me. Like, is what's hurting me. Sorry. So I haven't been using the risk reward calculator recently, so I don't even know what my risk reward is before I enter a trade. So I need to start using that. I guess I've been watching like ICT a little bit too much, or like other people too much. The fact that they enter in kind of without using that risk reward calculator, but I need to be using that. It's definitely useful. I definitely need to be using that in the future, 100%. So ideally, if I'm taking a trade without a market structure shift, then the risk reward has to be worth it. Like, I can't be taking a 1-8 risk reward without a market structure shift. That is just not sustainable. If there's not a market structure shift, I should be having at least an 8-1, at least. I won't say at least, but like something like a 5-1, 6-1 potentially. But I'm also settling for mid setups and setups I shouldn't really even be in. So those are mistakes that I'm making. Okay, so here's the trade framework for trade number 2. So this is on ES. We have low resistance liquidity below us. We also have stacked equal lows below us. We also have retraced back into OTE of this price leg. We also have taken internal liquidity. We now have displacement lower. This is what this 5-minute candle bodies are. Ideally, I would like to see more displacement and then take a pullback like this. But we're back with an OTE. We do have equal highs nestling above us here. And we also have equal lows below us. I believe we also have an S&P at the highs, S&P at lows. I really want to see these equal lows before I see these highs, though. Here's then when I take my another entry. I actually entered 2 times on this. This one with 3 contracts, and then over here with 2 contracts. But basically, we get a pullback into equilibrium of this price leg, pull back to this breaker for value gap. We have just taken internal liquidity, and I'm looking for us to rebalance into equilibrium. This just is not a good entry at all. It's not. I should then, okay, say we were tracing to here. This is what I should wait for. I should wait for us to come into here and then have displacement lower and then take this fair value gap to then head lower. But this just isn't right. Look at where I put my stop, though. Notice where I put my stop. My stop is at this wick high originally. Honestly, if I'm taking this, bro, I should just be putting my stop at this high. My stop's at this wick high. Notice that. So this is then when I take a second entry, we have a fair value gap. This isn't even a valid fair value gap. This is not a valid fair value gap. This is not even displacement through a low. No displacement at all. No true displacement. Nothing. No true displacement. There's not true displacement here. This is not a good fair value gap. And then I end up moving my stop to this high. Which I like how if I'm adding to position, I'm moving my stop. I do like that. That's the only thing I like. But if I had just stayed in that position originally, had my stop at this wick high, we would have headed lower. The reason why we dumped so fast is 1, low resistance liquidity. 2, Powell was also speaking at the time. So I knew I was trading before Powell was speaking. I wasn't too worried about it because I know that's likely going to push us to the already existing draw. But I think this is just unnecessary. This is stupid. This was not a good trade. So I don't like this trade. Why? Because price and time is just not in my favor. I said it's not on my time, but I meant in my favor. Right here, this is in lunch hour. This is nothing. Like price is not displaced truly lower. Like yeah, we've took this low and then come back up. That's all we've done. We've taken this low, come back up. There's nothing here. There's nothing here. Strictly added without true displacement. Ideally, when I want to be adding to position is when I have like very high confidence of us running to a low. I just added to add. I was just in this trade to be in this trade. I was trading this trade. It's too early of a trade. Powell's also speaking, so that may have been something, but I don't really care too much about when Powell speaks unless it's like FOMC. That's a rule that I'm gonna have continually going forward, and until something bad happens or until like I'm able to learn. That's just my conviction that I have, and I don't think it's a reason to be overcautious because of it. But I would say that like if you have a rule to not trade before Powell speaks, I feel like that's a fantastic rule. But for me, I just haven't seen enough to deteriorate me from trading before Powell speaks. Okay, so it's hindsight, but if I had kept my stop where it was, the trade would have gone in my favor, and that's what I'm saying. Like, over managing can hurt you, but also I don't mind moving my stop at all. I don't mind moving my stop. Ideally, if we have low resistance liquidity, I want us to run it, but I do think like this was a example to where moving my stops will hurt me. Moving my stop. Had I just had my stop at this high, trade probably wouldn't end up playing out. But it's all hindsight. So what I will actually do better in the future, wait for real displacement on the model. 100%. Once we get that true displacement, once we get that real displacement, then the model is valid. I can notice the model. I can say, hey, this is the draw on liquidity, but if I'm not actually able to execute off of it, I'm not actually going to wait for that real displacement, I will never become a successful trader. You can know exactly where the draw on liquidity is, but if you don't align time with price, you're never going to be successful, and that's just kind of one of my pitfalls. I've been able to notice the draw on liquidity every single one of my trades within the past 2 weeks, or most of my trades recently actually. I've been able to find the right draw on liquidity, but then when it comes to actually executing, I'm just not able to execute. So why do I even care about getting the best entry? I'm in this model of perfection. I want to get perfection. I want to perfect it, bro. I'm not on that level. I need to get humbled. I'm not on that level of perfection. I'm not on that level of sniper entry. I'm not. I need to work to get there. I haven't seen enough. I haven't journaled enough. I haven't backtested enough. I haven't put enough work, enough hours into getting that best entry. So why am I trying to get the best entry? The best entry is probably not always the right entry as well. The best entry is probably not always the best entry. It's all about what's for you. And for me, I need to sit back. I need to chillax. I need to say, hey, let's not always try to get the best entry. Let's wait for that second entry sometimes. Let's just chillax and let's wait for us to possibly have that second entry. I was just getting way too cocky or whatever recently, and that's just been hurting me. Wait for the retracements 100%, especially when I'm entering. I like today on that second entry off that first model, I was able to wait for the retracement, which what I really like. 100%. This is one of my number one focuses is using the risk reward calculator or the risk reward tool. Definitely need to use that going into the future. Showing up and staying consistent. If I stay consistent, if I keep on putting the work, if I show up and do this every single day, like there's no doubt in my mind that I will not become a successful trader. There's no doubt in my mind that will become funded. No doubt. Like I show up, I gotta put in the work. This isn't gonna get handed to me. I gotta earn it, and right now I do not deserve it. Right now, I do not deserve it. Hey, what's good, Shamal? Yeah, I am sorry. I'm actually sorry. I did not mean to. I gave you mod though, so you should feel special. I do apologize. Anyways, that's all I really have. We'll be back in 45 minutes for the chart review. Hopefully, I'll see you guys there. We'll go over in depth of the price action, but that was just how I traded today. So I think and appreciate y'all. We'll be back.